Welcome to Intelligent Middlemen and Operation Cyber Pullback. Let's start at the top with those at the top, corporate board members. Cybersecurity is an intractable problem without a known, provably correct solution. This presents an irreconcilable dilemma for board members who have a responsibility to safeguard the enterprise. In a quandary, and caught in a paradox between an incomplete cybersecurity theory and practice and the more complete and well-specified fiduciary duties and risk oversight responsibilities, no amount of compliance monitoring or cyber insurance can fully protect the enterprise. Just how to thread the needle of this legal quandary? How can board member failure be avoided when the organization insists on trusting data and information it cannot afford to lose to an internet which cannot be protected? Corporate board members who find themselves overseeing overcommitted internet dependencies are looking for a way to pull back. Prudent board members seeking to resolve this dilemma should engage in Operation Cyber Pullback, where the organization strikes a prudent balance in internet usage by eliminating from the internet corporate data and information it cannot afford to lose, and trusting the internet only with operations and data and information it can afford to lose and recover from in the event it is lost, thereby fulfilling board members' fiduciary duty and risk oversight responsibility. Since cybersecurity is both below the pay grade and above the education level of board members should seek the advice and counsel of a cyber intelligent middleman in executing Operation Cyber Pullback. Cybersecurity is an existential threat. Cyber defenses are known to be inadequate and insufficient. Yet risk-based application security management places a heavy emphasis on compliance. Compliance with what? There is no accepted cybersecurity theory and practice backed up by empirical evidence. The insurance industry has discovered this as its compliance-based cyber insurance offerings are seeing premiums skyrocket due to dependence on compliance without foundations and the lack of actuarial data. Hope is not a strategy. Without foundations, risk-based approaches tied to compliance have become a charade. Participants in the charade are CSOs and CISOs, corporate board members and officers, insurance companies, and the government, including DHS and NIST. Evidence that a compliance-based risk management approach to cyber security does not work is mounting and has become undeniable. Compounding the problem, the incomplete cybersecurity theory and practice forms the basis for compliance-oriented board of directors regulations, effectively shutting down innovation. What is the alternative? Simply put, an organization that is trusting the internet with business functions and data and information it cannot afford to lose is overcommitted to the internet and needs to balance its internet use. What is the mitigation strategy? In short, the organization needs to engage in Operation Cyber Pullback, led by a cyber intelligent middleman charged with prudently managing internet use. The organization needs to strike a prudent balance in internet usage by eliminating from the internet corporate data and information it cannot afford to lose, and trusting the internet only with operations and data and information it can afford to lose and recover from in the event it is lost. In an exercise of due diligence, organizations and their board members, with their fiduciary obligations and responsibilities, need to exercise Operation Cyber Pullback to align their internet use with actual known capabilities and exposures. The cyber intelligent middleman needs to be charged with prudently managing internet use and leading and guiding board members and executives in the exercise of Operation Cyber Pullback in order to change the trajectory of an organization's cybersecurity outlook, operations, and outcomes. For example, there should be no internet use of data and information the organization cannot afford to lose. No internet access without three-factor authentication. No data and information sharing without encryption. The use of continuous diagnostics and mitigation, CDM. And no data and information cyber incident sharing without indemnification. Recently published by Caxton Business and Legal Inc., Navigating the Digital Age, the Definitive Cybersecurity Guide for Directors and Officers, advises board members not to leave the details to others. It is in that spirit that board members are advised not to leave cybersecurity to chance. That is, depending on risk management practices to calculate cybersecurity in the midst of today's cyber chaos is a fool's errand. By depending on risk management approaches, organizations and their boards are gambling with cybersecurity, something they know very little about, something about which very little is known, and something that is, in the end, may prove to be unknowable. Putting risk management practices aside and acknowledging that cybersecurity protection practices are imperfect, the enterprise, with data and information it cannot afford to lose, should not put it on the internet. It is just that simple. The corporate risk officer focuses on eliminating, mitigating, transferring, or accepting risk. Operation Cyber Pullback focuses on eliminating and accepting. Eliminating is accomplished by anticipating and avoiding internet use for functions and data and information the organization cannot afford to lose. Accepting involves using the internet for operations, data, and information the organization can afford to lose and recover from in the event of a cyber attack. Just what is a cyber intelligent middleman? To cut through the fog, let's begin with defining the job specification for a cyber intelligent middleman. The cyber intelligent middleman possesses the broad range of hard and soft skills spanning the cultural, ethical, legal, business, process, management, and engineering dimensions needed to meet the challenges of the enterprise and more broadly its industry sector, and those of the critical infrastructure in anticipating, avoiding, minimizing, withstanding, and recovering from cross-cutting effects and to impede the emergence of propagating and cascading effects. The conventional order of things is to populate an organization with CSOs and CISOs and declare that the board member responsibilities have been met. This is done in the spirit of risk transfer. However, when CSOs and CISOs themselves also proceed in the spirit of risk transfer, to rely on compliance with cybersecurity standards and practices that have proven to be inadequate and insufficient to the challenge, cybersecurity risk management becomes nothing but a charade. Fooled themselves into participating in the cybersecurity risk management charade, insurance companies are now paying the price of this guesswork with cyber insurance premiums mismatched to risks that are not well understood and certainly not quantified. A more disruptive order of things is to cease depending on failed CSO and CISO positions. Instead, install a cyber intelligent middleman to lead Operation Cyber Pullback. More useful than a Chief Security Officer or Chief Information Security Officer, both skilled at talking about cybersecurity, the cyber intelligent middleman must be educated, trained, and in possession of the broad gauge experience to fill the role of Chief Critical Infrastructure Resilience Architecture and Operations Engineer. The cyber intelligent middleman is the active ingredient at the center of things and serves as the traffic cop for identifying and driving resolution of cross-cutting issues. From this vantage point, the intelligent middleman is able to obtain superior situational awareness, for example, ensuring that recovery time objectives are coordinated, interoperability protocols are followed, distributed supervisory control functions are coordinated, and operation sensing and monitoring functions are applied. But much of this is below the pay grade and beyond the education and training of the CSO and CISO, but very necessary nevertheless. No small task. The cyber intelligent middleman is charged with integrating the cultural, ethical, business, management, and engineering dimensions in plain text in dealing with the board. In short, the cyber intelligent middleman serves as the gatekeeper of cybersecurity expectation for the organization, including the board of directors. Operation Cyber Pullback begins by getting the board to understand and acknowledge that the state of cyber security is dire, and nothing short of a smart and trusted approach is called for. The following evidence for this helps frame the challenge of Operation Cyber Pullback and includes lack of adequate cybersecurity theory and practice, lack of effective cybersecurity education and training to transfer that which is known, lack of well-conceived cybersecurity organizational roles and effectiveness, lack of sufficient understanding among board members of cybersecurity and board member roles and responsibilities, beginning with reputation and brand and fiduciary due diligence challenges in a cyber environment, failure to launch an orderly cyber insurance market and industry due to lack of actuarial data, insufficient cooperation and collaboration in collecting and sharing cyber incident data and information between industry and government due to mutual distrust and lack of indemnification for industry partners. Operation Cyber Pullback begins with the premise that the Internet should not be entrusted with data and information the organization cannot afford to lose. When the elements of cybersecurity design cannot protect what must be protected, do not use the Internet. However, when the elements of cybersecurity design offer some level of protection for what the organization wants to protect, but is willing to lose if it can't, then a calculated risk may be in order. Here it is important to distinguish business functions and data and information the organization cannot afford to lose from the business functions and data and information the organization considers expendable. For best results in performing the initial steps, assign Step A, cannot afford to lose, Step B, can afford to lose, and Step C, all data, to separate teams and perform the steps concurrently. The real insights from this exercise will emerge when the results of Steps A, B, and C are reviewed, discussed, and reconciled. Here it will be necessary to forge a shared vision on the why question in Step 6, where the value of each business function and data and information may be expressed in terms of attributes like economics, mission, competitiveness, reputation, security, privacy, resilience, and trust, and viewed from a variety of dimensions like business, management, process, engineering, and operations, as well as supply chain management and outsourcing. The discussions that take place following the initial steps of Operation Cyber Pullback will be rich indeed, and both revealing and consequential to the organization. The purpose of the Operation Cyber Pullback Data and Information Asset Inventory Assessment is to systematically calculate the metrics governing pullback decisions. Can the enterprise afford to lose the asset to a cyber attack? Yes or no? If the value lost or cost impact derived from eliminating data and information from the internet exceeds the cost impact that might be derived from cyber attacks by bad actors with the resulting outcomes and consequences, and if there are no overriding qualitative factors, the data and information can be considered an internet candidate. Otherwise, the data and information should be considered an offline candidate. Is eliminating data and information less costly considering both quantitative and qualitative factors? Yes or no? Beyond quantitative value and cost, there may be qualitative factors to be considered, such as mission, competitiveness, reputation, financial, customer, employee, privacy, false claims, other legal factors, and even other things. The more judgmental quantitative factors may trump the calculated qualitative factors. Are cybersecurity controls in use? Yes or no? Beyond the quantitative and qualitative factors, cybersecurity controls may serve to mitigate the risk of internet use sufficiently to convert some offline candidates to internet candidates. Residual risk yet to be addressed. Beyond the systematic consideration of quantitative and qualitative factors and cybersecurity controls, there may remain unattended uncertainty yet to be addressed. The identification of residual risk, whether or not accompanied by an action plan, should be considered an essential product of the Data and Information Asset Inventory Assessment and an important indicator of cybersecurity health and status. Risk is uncertainty and the prospect for loss or gain depending on the outcomes of an event. An industrial strength software risk management practice is one that treats risk as uncertainty, carefully distinguishes risks from the sources of risk and problems, and doesn't use risk management as an off-ramp to avoid actually solving problems. Since risk is uncertainty, the challenge is to calculate the uncertainty of a risk and accept only those risks whose joint probability of occurrence and prospect for loss or gain are prudent choices. These are considered calculated risks. The cybersecurity goals for which risk and uncertainty associated with internet usage is to be calculated include anticipating, avoiding, withstanding, mitigating, and recovering from the effects of cyber adversity under all circumstances of use. Let's turn our attention to the persistent steps in Operation Cyber Pullback, composed of Step D, cybersecurity, calculated risk, and Step E, non-fiduciary attributes. Here it is important to persistently make an attempt to calculate cybersecurity risk based on the most essential factors and best information available. An organization is expected to employ cyber tactics spanning anticipation, detection, attribution, and countermeasures. However, these have been shown to be imperfect, both in their strategic conceptualization and execution. Cyber threat consequences include cleanup, lost opportunity, recovery, loss of availability, loss of trust, and loss of privacy. These consequences might derive from the technical outcomes of a cyber attack, such as unauthorized access, loss of data, tampering of data, erosion of performance, and denial of service, made possible and facilitated by software engineering weaknesses like insecure interaction between components, resource management, and porous defense, and further enabled by inadequate protection afforded by cybersecurity design elements. What does the risk calculation look like? Just how would cybersecurity risk be calculated? What are the factors to be taken into account? As mentioned earlier, depending on risk management practices to calculate cybersecurity in the midst of today's cyber chaos is a fool's errand. Yet an organization might attempt this anyway, as the means to constructively explore the details in search of ground truth, in the spirit of not leaving the details to others. Despite the fact that these cybersecurity uncertainties have not yet been reduced to calculated risks, an organization may choose to proceed with internet usage for business functions and data and information it can afford to lose based on qualitative supporting rationale like economics, mission, and competitiveness found in Step E. Having come this far, the organization might also wish to explore the calculation of its cybersecurity risk. In conclusion, following the lead of the cyber intelligent middleman, charged with prudently managing the internet use and understanding that hope is not a strategy, an organization that agrees to reevaluate its internet usage and chooses to adopt and apply the Operation Cyber Pullback Program will reap the following benefits. The enterprise will not risk business functions and data and information it cannot afford to lose to the internet. The enterprise will reap the full benefits of the internet for business functions and data and information it can afford to lose and recover from in the event it is lost. Here is my contact information. I would be happy to receive questions and have discussions with people on this important subject.